Hi, thank you so much for joining us and welcome back to The Vision Within. Today is January 6th, 2018, and please do follow us on our YouTube channel, Vision Within, and follow and share. So today we were talking just before we started about remembering who we are and finding the others. Now, how's that for an ambiguous kind of thing? But it's going to be a really fun show today, so I'm excited about this. So, Lisa, since you came up with an idea, let's go with you.
Okay, yeah. Do we want to identify ourselves?
Oh, yeah,
first?
so sorry. All right. I'm Lori.
I'm Loretta.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Katrina. It's not, if you're tuning in for the first time, that's fantastic. We are happy to have you. But if you've watched us before, honey, you know who we are.
That's right.
And visit our YouTube channel, The Vision Within, and subscribe and share. That's our little commercial break. Okay.
There you go.
You asked me, okay, I was kind of thinking about this. Well, there's Timothy Leary has a really great quote. He was a Harvard professor, and he's since crossed over, but he had an experience in his 40s that kind of changed his whole philosophical view on life. Mm-hmm. And he said, we may act like them and talk like them and walk like them, but he said it's time to find the others. And the girl in the elevator that you might want to talk to, there is no coincidences on who you might meet, and they may have something to share with you that helps us remember what we already know and remember who we really are, and that we're the ones we're waiting for.
Right.
And or the bald guy that walks past our cubicle.
Right.
So, and then I read somewhere if you run into someone 3 times on a hiking trail, then the universe is trying to tell us that this person may have something to share with us that can help us.
Right.
So, what does it mean, do you think, to find the others? What is that? What does that mean for you?
Okay, what it means for me is like-minded souls. Mm-hmm. We're people that are currently on the same path, so I don't feel so alone and so far out on a limb.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what does it mean for you, Loretta? Find the others.
The same, just people who are on the same spiritual growth plane that we are. Because I think that as we're moving through and growing and evolving, it's time to take our place to kind of help humanity. Mm-hmm. And so we have to find those other people that as part of our direction or to help us fulfill what we're supposed to fulfill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we were talking about a fun book that we're reading, Your Soul's Plan. It talks about pre-birth planning, the pre-birth plan that we decide before we come here. Mm. And they had a really interesting way of describing it, kind of like the pebble in the water, that, once we start kind of remembering, that, gosh, we're part of a much bigger picture, we have not only our soul, but we've got our soul group, then our soul community, and then the community beyond that, and it just keeps going out. And synchronicities are so much fun. And I'll just give you this one example that, it just shows you there is absolutely no coincidences. We're all there to meet somebody, and how fun it is to act on it. That people are always afraid, oh my gosh, they're going to judge us, they're going to worry about this. I guess by hitting a certain age, I've let that go. That's the beauty of it, But I remember sitting in an Apple store, and you were back in the back, and I'd probably been waiting 30 minutes or something, and I was just bored. And I was practicing this idea that I had that, if we just would hold hands with someone and just breathe, not kind of control our breathing, but if we would just connect and breathe for 1 minute, how would it change everything? So anyway, I'm just sitting there, and so I talked to the woman next to me, and I said, this may sound crazy, but would you be willing to just hold hands with me and breathe for a minute?
In an Apple store?
In an Apple store.
With all those EMFs?
Totally. I said, for whatever reason, I'm just bored. It's kind of bringing up anxiety. I said, would you do that? And she said, absolutely. She turns around, does it. I totally felt, when you look at heart math, I felt our heartbeat sink. Wow. And then everything dropped. We both got really calm. And I said, thank you so much for just being willing to do that. Mm-hmm. And she says, oh, of course. I'm a social worker. It's what I do. And I said, of course you are.
Luscious.
Of course you are, because that's how my life goes. You know, and that's like
I love that.
life turns into this freaking game
Yeah.
when you actually play on that and
Yeah.
just, you know, hey, you just look nice. I just thought you were having fun over there. I love what you're wearing. You know, that's how my whole journey started, was commenting on a woman's raincoat.
At Starbucks, you
Yeah.
said, yeah.
Whole thing started just
Yeah.
commenting
I
on a
remember that
lady's
story,
raincoat.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
we need to act on any, you know, impulse and let
Yeah.
go of who judges us one way or the other.
Right.
Sure.
You don't know them anyway.
You're absolutely
Who
right.
cares?
You're right. Well, and it's funny because you talk about synchronicities, and we met in when we were both in a completely different cycle in our life,
Yeah.
and we're connected again by chance through a mutual acquaintance. And we're like, holy crap, I can't
Yeah.
believe that this is,
Yeah.
you know, that we're seeing each other again.
Yeah.
And I was in a
Yeah.
different place and you were in a different place. And we were both sort of entering the awakening journey at about the
Right.
same time.
Right.
And so I was like, holy cow. And that opened up everything for me
Yeah,
to be able
right.
to meet both of you as well. And what a huge blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, and you never know where that's going to come from. And so, and where it's going to lead and what kind of joy it's going to bring to your life. I feel like the other part of finding the others, at least for me, is you know, being open to some of the connections that people will help you make. And I know recently you connected me with a young man several months ago, and he and I have been talking a lot. And I said to him probably 3 weeks ago, I said, you know, do you feel like, are you getting what you need from this? Is this supporting you? Like, you know, because he's, in his early 20s. And, you know, I was just like, is this, because seemingly, you know, I was a little bit attached to there being this age difference. And it's a really beautiful friendship. And he said, I absolutely am. He said, you know, I really don't have a lot of people I can talk to about the experiences I'm having and what I hear when I'm around or when I touch a crystal, or how I am so drawn and see these blueprints for pyramids and all of these other things that are awakening for me. And sometimes I think I'm crazy, and I don't even run them by some of my friends sometimes because it really feels so out there. But he said, I feel like I can tell you anything. And I said, I'm glad to hear you say that. That just affirms something for me, which is I kind of feel like a spiritual godmother for you, for lack of a better
Right.
term,
Right.
in holding space for you to grow, evolve, and give voice to anything that is coming up for you at this time, because it's all okay. It's all part of your journey. And he's like, I just thank you so much for that. And so for me, it was this different part of finding the others. It was allowing the connection and seeing where it went. I know you had something similar that you shared happen in your workplace with a young woman. Would you feel comfortable sharing that story?
Yeah, I can share some of the details of it. So, pardon me, there's a young woman that I work with, and we've, I guess, kind of worked together for the last several years, although really not together. I knew who she was, she knew who I was, and we did have some common work, I suppose, on a particular project, but, our interactions and our conversations have always been focused on work-related, more technical stuff. So, during this time, or in the last couple of years, she actually has moved overseas as part of her role. So I was overseas last year, it was last fall. There was like a large workshop, and she was there also, and there was probably, maybe 70 other people there. And she approached me, and we were going to try to have lunch together, but we weren't able to just because the schedule got so chaotic. So we ended up standing and scarfing down a dessert for like 5 minutes and just exchanging like pleasantries, right? Well, she came to Indianapolis for a project, for some work, and she arranged to have lunch with me, and we sat in the cafeteria at work, and then she actually really started telling me about some of the recent spiritual experiences that she had had, and really shared a lot of information with me over the last, over that hour, and I was just really, really intrigued, and I really was sitting there. I was basically spellbound while she spoke for about an hour, because I would not have made that association. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when we were finished having lunch and it was time to go back to work, I said to her, how did you know that you could talk to me, or that I was, had shared the same beliefs? and she said that that she just knew. She just was
Yeah.
given this awareness message that I was a safe person for
Ooh,
her to talk to
I
about
love
this.
that.
And so I don't want. I know it's so vague. I don't want to disclose any
Sure.
details because I want to respect privacy, of course. But I think that what's happening is that the people that are waking up and that are having some of these experiences, they are kind of being steered or guided toward people that they can have these conversations with,
Yeah.
just so they can. And I don't want to say so they can feel some kind of normalcy, but so they know that they're not alone,
Right.
and that this is really becoming a more prevalent factor
Right, yeah.
in our
Yes.
society, right, in our culture, and the way that things are, or people are developing.
Well, I love that, and in the least place you would expect, and maybe the last person you would expect,
Yeah.
And getting back to your point about people coming around after years, I've got a couple people in our meditation group that I knew years and years ago, and I'm like, I didn't expect them to
Right.
resurface. And then also finding the others, like in your workplace. Like I recently have befriended a young gal. She's in her mid-20s, and she came over for dinner last night, and we talked for 5 hours.
Wow.
I mean, and we're on the same wavelength, and we found each other.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, and who cares if there's 35 years apart?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
I agree. I
Yeah.
think that, I think back about some of the things that happened to me, and I'm realizing, I think I've told you guys this before, more and more, how wise my grandmother was.
Right.
Yes.
And I was lucky that there were things I could share with her. I wish I would have shared more.
Yes.
And because she was so much more in tune than what any of us realized. I mean, she used tarot cards, she had a crystal ball, a lot of other things that she did. She was studying chakras and meditation and all that when Shirley MacLaine was kind of coming out with all of her stuff.
Yeah.
And the family, the family was like, oh yeah, she's going around the bend, right? But at the same time, I thought, well, that's really interesting. I didn't get it, but I wasn't. I was probably still at an age where I was curious enough that I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what that's about." And I was afraid to say anything at that time because that, those weren't things that you talked about. I could talk to her about those things and ask her questions when we were alone, but I didn't dare do it when there were a lot of other people around because they just weren't. They weren't open to it at that time. Now it's very different. Now the family is much more open to it, and I'm very fortunate for that. But I think it's just every time.
And you mentioned too something about 3 times and getting something around
Yes,
3
yes,
times,
yes.
and we can just act on these impulses, but we can also be kind of intentional
Right.
about finding the others. And when I first opened my practice, I remember because it was such a synchronistic meeting, I'm thinking, well, this is great. I'm just going to act on everything, because it obviously pays off, And I had found different books on breath work, came around 3 times to me before, I really explored it. But I remember sitting there just random afternoon, and I don't know, I guess I was bored and just grabbed a book. I get bored a lot. Grabbed a book and just flipped to the back, and here in the back of this book, I couldn't even tell you, I don't even know if I have the book anymore, couldn't even tell you where I found it. How to Find Your Soul Group. I'm like, are you kidding? Yeah. And it said, create a beacon.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm reading this process. I got my book all propped open. Thank God nobody walked in. Here I'm sitting there like creating this energy ball, and I got it. And I'm just putting intention. Okay, I want to meet my soul group. I'm feeling the ball. And I just put it up in the air, right over the building. And I said, all right, I'm ready to meet my soul group. And I mean, literally, that day, I started all these the people that are all part of our group just started popping in my life. That's when I ran into Kat again, and Lynn, and all of these people, they just started coming in. I'm just thinking, wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you built an antenna and people could find you.
That's
Are
right.
you tuned into the soul group?
Yeah. Yeah.
with the antenna.
That's right. Yeah.
Who's she attracted?
Yeah.
She
Right.
pulled people in on the frequency.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a-
I set my chain,
radio
just like a
wave.
radio, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
where's my soul group
Yeah, all the
channel?
survivors come
Yeah.
here. you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
There you go.
Love it.
Oh, I love that.
And I think what's fun, if it's spontaneous, like at the Apple Store
Right,
or
right.
Starbucks,
Right.
we could do it because they don't know us.
Sure.
The funny thing is, we like energetically, your friend at work,
Right.
we know each other.
Sure, we do. We totally
do.
do.
Mhm.
It's, so we have
Yeah.
to get rid of that stigma, they don't know us because they do, or
Yeah.
we wouldn't be getting the antenna that's drawing
Yeah.
us
Right.
to them.
And I feel like finding the others and sharing something, even downloading energetics,
Sure.
which we may not be consciously aware of.
Sure.
When we find the others, we don't have to become best friends with them and
Sure.
spend multiple time with them. It could be as
Right.
a flash. It could be
Right.
just high on the hiking trail, and then there's this energetic download and sharing. Or it could be. So I don't think we have to worry about, oh my gosh, I found the other
Oh,
or
no.
one of the others, and now I've
Right.
got to develop this relationship.
No,
No,
no.
yeah.
It can be like a footnote.
Right.
A footnote.
It
Yeah,
can be like a
I love that.
footnote of something that maybe them showing up reminds you of.
It's also a marker note telling you that you're on the right path.
Right.
Oh, yes,
Right.
yes.
They're guideposts.
Yeah.
also,
Right.
Too,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because you can have
Yeah.
a dialogue and receive
Right.
Yeah.
a co-creator's
Sure.
affirmation in
Yeah.
a sense. Not that we need affirmation,
Sure.
but it's a
It is.
co-creative
Sure.
dialogue.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
being on the same wavelength. It's so nice, isn't it?
It is nice.
Yeah.
Well, we have been around the bend once again.
Okay.
I love that. And
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about finding the others and what that means. And we've talked before about synchronicity, but I think in terms of, paying attention to when we have things like that come up. And Loretta, I love that you even asked the question of, the person that's a colleague and said, hey, how did you
Yeah.
know that I was a safe person to come to? I think we all kind of know that. I think we get those little winks and nods from the universe. And if we choose to be present and take the risk and step into the arena and be a little bit vulnerable, I feel like we're going to be rewarded.
Oh, sure.
So, once again, I'm Katrina.
I'm Lori.
Loretta.
And I'm Lisa, and please visit us on the Vision Within YouTube channel and share and subscribe, and also on Rising Tides Global Facebook page. Till next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.